And we're here. It is the Dumb Guy Live podcast.
We're back. We're back.
We're dressed
Episode
insane. Look, it's Ezio. What?
Whoa.
Whoa! What the what? Holy what? Ezio! Wow.
What's he doing here?
Those games are good. Those were the best Assassin's Creed games, I think. The Ezio ones. A lot of people don't like. A lot of people are lower on Revelations, but I thought that was the best of the three.
I think that was the best one. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. We're on the same page here. All right. It is Dumb Guy Live. We're doing this regularly now. This is the fourth one, I think. So yeah, we're here. Yeah. We are going to talk today. Well, first of all, Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're without Murph today. But we got this Stardom show. This is sort of my wheelhouse. So, I'm ready. We're here.
Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We're going to talk a lot about Stardom. Unfortunately, so we were planning on doing the Pro draft. All right, the Japanese wrestling draft tonight. But Murph had to go to the Hitler Youth rally and he couldn't. I know, and he couldn't make it. Hello, Brian Pillman Jr. I'm glad you made it. You'll make it to Japan one of these days, BPJ. You'll get there. All right.
I like that we have recurring characters in the comments.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it, dude. Anytime people do bits in the chat, it's like I'm doing something right. I love it.
Where's Regal at?
Where's Regal?
He's my favorite.
He's gonna compliment me and AO. Inexplicably, we're the only ones he compliments. I don't really get it, but yeah. So Murph's occupied doing his own thing. Hi Darren, thank you for showing up. Hi Scarecrow. Hi Lexi. Hi Lexi. We were gonna do that draft. Oh my god, Lewis.
We have a super chat.
Look, Lewis, I'm doing great. I'm kind of tired. I was watching TJPW before this, and I literally almost fell asleep. I was like so bored watching TJPW that I literally almost fell asleep. I'm sorry to all the TJPW fans watching, but I did not enjoy the show that I watched. It was the Arisu Endo homecoming show from like 3 weeks ago, and I like Arisu Endo, so I was like, this match is gonna be good, but I was like so bored. So thank you Lewis, thank you for supporting. We got Johnny here, we got Portuguese guy in here whose name I can't pronounce.
I'll give it a go. So I'm gonna say João Sequeira.
That's it. Now how do you say the Joe? Okay, all right. Teach Sainer, as if this podcast couldn't get better. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Let's get going. We will do the draft. That draft will be done next week, everybody. So please come back here. It's going to be yes. It's going to be our best show yet. We're really excited to do it. We love Japanese pro wrestling. We're going to implement some like rules to it and restrictions to make it more than just like picking whoever you think is going to be like best next up on the board. So please stay tuned for that. For this week, however, we decided to just kind of be casual with it a little bit. Jamie and I are going to kind of riff back and forth, and we're going to talk about some of the promotions that we really enjoy in Japan. And I would say like more so than like maybe the average Japanese wrestling fan or something like that. Yeah. All right. So the big one here has got to be Stardom. And that's obviously, if you can see the title here, it's why you need to know about Stardom is kind of our gimmick. So Jamie, I kind of want you to start with that. You were a huge Stardom fan. I know this. You have been for a while now, right? Would you say it's your favorite promotion right now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So just first, let's go with the prompt here. All right. So why do people need to know about World Wondering Stardom?
Okay, so first things first, I would say Stardom for what feels like a year or two now has been possibly the most consistent company for like big pay-per-view events. They seem to do them like twice a month. So we've got one coming up this weekend, which I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later. But in terms of these big events, like they do not miss. The company's generally structured like a lot of Japanese companies. They're very faction based. I know we touched on last week, and we have touched on Dragon Gate, and I know you mentioned how sometimes the factions, because they change quite a lot, they don't really have as much weight to them when these changes happen. I feel like Stardom, each wrestler in the faction, it kind of fits with the identity of the faction, and they don't change as often. And say a Natsupoi switches from Donna Del Mondo to Cosmic Angels. That's got more weight to it, right? It was a big deal.
One of the biggest angles of the year in Stardom, and it's literally just somebody switching factions.
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like you get a nice balance of, you know, the storylines and like incredible wrestling quality. I would say easily the best quality women's wrestling that you can find on a consistent basis. So yeah, just in terms of like consistency, quality, and they do like a wide variety of things. Like they've got comedy wrestling. They've got, if you watch one of their other brands, Stardom in Showcase, you get a bit of, you know, you get Extreme Rules, Force Count Anywhere, Cosmic Rules matches, if that's up your alley, you know. But you know, it's a diverse promotion, and there's a lot to enjoy.
I kind of liken it to, and obviously Jamie, you're a bit younger than me, but I kind of liken it to how New Japan was 5 or 6 years ago, in that we, you know, it's really finally starting to gain consistent traction over in the States, right, with consistently excellent big shows. And one thing to look forward to is this incredible round robin tournament in the late summer and fall, right, with the 5-star just concluding. And I think that there's so many parallels to how New Japan was like 5-6 years ago, with big time top stars. I mean, we're thinking like Okada and Omega and Naito and Ibushi and Suzuki and Tanahashi and all these people, and you can easily extend so much of that to Stardom today, where we have our big time juggernauts, like, right, we have Mayu Utami, we have Shuri, Utami Hayashishida, these types of wrestlers, Julia, right? And we also have the big time up and comers that people are kind of waiting for their moment in the sun as well, like Starlight Kid and Natsupoi and Azumi and people like that. So I think that the vibes around it are very similar. The other big thing about New Japan was that it was kind of the infrequency of storyline moments and angles, right? And I think that extends here too. I mean, you would have stuff kind of going on in the margins just to kind of keep people busy, but New Japan would always just limit their stuff to like maybe 2 or 3 big time angles per year. And I've enjoyed Stardom. They do it a little bit more often, but I mean, like you said, I mean, Natsupoi switching to Cosmic Angels was such a big moment. I mean, completely shook up the structure of the two of the most important factions in the company. And I mean, since then, I would say Cosmic Angels has been a quite dominant faction. You know, they're the tag champions, and Donna Del Mondo has absolutely not been as dominant as they historically have been since they debuted. And so I think just simple stuff like that being so important and impactful and rewarding your close viewing for just paying attention and getting invested in these characters, I think is just so valuable. So yeah, I think that's a huge part of things. They do not have, this is not the best wrestler alive, but for one day, I would say she was the greatest wrestler alive. She was in fact one of our beasts of the week.
She was the beast of the week.
Was she wrestle? Here we go.
Oh, yes.
That's right. You're so reliable, Regal. You little sausage. You. I love the super chats. I love them. They make me so happy. So thank you. Yeah. So I think I mean there's so much. So we can talk about storytelling. We can talk about match quality. We can talk about booking. We can talk about the individual wrestlers themselves, the investment they're in. Where do you want to start, Jamie? Like, where do we really want to get into? Like, what's so valuable with Stardom? I tend to lean wrestlers first, like the wrestlers themselves. What do you think?
Yeah, so you touched on it briefly there, like in the comparison with New Japan. they've got such a stacked roster. It's been building nicely over the last. Oh, hang on, super chat.
Oh yeah, just really quick. So yeah, from Darren. Thank you, Darren. By the way, I appreciate it. The first time I heard of Stardom was a young Tony Storm versus Tessa Blanchard in 2017. I've followed it since. Wow. So you've been here a long time, and you were here through the Kagetsu years, and maybe was that even like late end like Chris Wolf? I'm trying to remember. But I mean, you were, Io Shirai and all that, right? All that stuff. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, Tony Storm was a dominant champion for a long time there. It's crazy how much it's changed since then. I mean, you look at the top of the card from something 5 years ago, and it's like 5-6 years ago, it's like Kairi and Io, Kagetsu, all those, all the people, and of course Tony Storm, other people previously mentioned, and the fact that they've been able to, all these talent have gone to like bigger and better places. Not I shouldn't say better. They've gone to bigger places, right? A lot of them WWE, AW, Kagetsu, of course, retired. Transitioned, by the way, which is fantastic, and I've loved to see a lot of the like support that he's gotten now, which has been pretty fantastic. But I mean, that's been huge to see that development too. I mean, Stardom is genuinely kind of unrecognizable from how it was even just like 3-4 years ago. So
they went through a rough time of like, like you mentioned, big talents leaving like Kairi, Io. They had retirements like Kagetsu, like you mentioned, and Hazuki, who's now back. But somehow, like, they rode through it, and they've managed to be even better than before with a whole new crop of talent and stars. And I think it's the best it's ever been by a mile. So
I do too. I don't think. I mean, personally, I have of course a soft spot for Ice Ribbon, but I do not think that in like in terms of mass appeal and just getting what you want from a major like high production women's wrestling promotion, I don't think you can do any better than current Stardom in like the 21st century. I think it's that good. So actually I found, I kind of posed a question, but I kind of found a better way to maybe start this off. This is a good question from D here. How do you watch Stardom? What's their structure of doing shows? Do they have a schedule like a weekly TV show or something else? So we watch on Stardom World and occasionally pay-per-views, right? Stardom World, if you're familiar with New Japan World streaming service, it's very similar. Every single match, literally every single match that Stardom puts on goes up on Stardom World. It's never live, unfortunately. That's kind of the one downside is that it's never live. But since the innovation of like the pay-per-view in Stardom, all the really big important matches that you need to see, they're pretty much live. You can find them live. The pay-per-views do get expensive. They're about what are they? Are they still 3,500 yen? I just like hit pay and I don't even think about it.
They're like roughly £30 over here.
So I think they're 3,500 yen, or 4,000 maybe. But they do run one every 2 to 3 weeks now, and so that does stack up. Stardom World is an incredible value, by the way. It's like one of the cheapest wrestling streaming services out there. I'm actually going to leave that up while we do this, and every major show gets put up there 3 days after it airs. So you don't have to pay that 4,000 yen, those $30, £30 every single time they run a pay-per-view. If you're just patient and you wait 3 days, and if you want to avoid spoilers and everything, you go ahead and do that. So I've actually started, now that I've been busier, I've started to do that a lot more. I used to buy every pay-per-view, but now that I'm just catching up, I'm like, you know what? There's no chance I'm watching this live. Lamora, interesting stuff here. There have been 21 pay-per-views already. So if you add all that together, let's just conservatively say it's $30. That is $630 that somebody would have spent on Stardom this year. So and yeah, this is also, I've noticed this actually mostly with my Ice Ribbon pay-per-view purchases, but the yen is like way down right now. It's so crazy how much like getting into Japanese wrestling like teaches you about this stuff.
Yeah, you pay attention to the economy.
But the yen is really weak right now, so everything feels a lot cheaper to Americans or Europeans. So really quickly, let's go back to this one. So Jamie, do they have a weekly show, or what do they do?
So Stardom basically, so in between the live pay-per-view events that you mentioned, they just sort of have a house show schedule. They'll usually run around I don't think there's a set. Not that I know anyway. I don't think there's a set like schedule, but they'll usually do 2 to 3 maybe house shows a week, maybe a little bit more depending on like the time of year. So at the moment we're having the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. So there's quite a few shows. They're getting through a lot of matches there. But yeah, roughly 2 to 3 shows a week, and then they'll go up on Stardom World, either on the day or within a day or two. But other than that, it's just the live pay-per-view shows. They also have a weekly YouTube show, I believe, which usually has a few big matches on there. But in terms of your week by week, they have the house shows and then the big pay-per-view shows once or twice a month, more so.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're easily getting 2 to 3 shows a week, just per the purchase. So that's like 10 to 12 shows a month. Full shows, they do not. It's not like New Japan where they do like their house show circuit, and you only get the big shows like at Big Palette or Korakuen or whatever. At Stardom, you literally see every single match they put on, which I think is really cool. If you're like a super fan, you're a completionist. Like Jamie, do you watch every single match that they put on, or do you kind of pick and choose at some points?
I try and get around to it.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not the only one. I know of a lot of people who do try to watch every single one, and I think that's cool that they do that. And it's New Japan has actually become unique in that they don't, because Noah and DDT and TJPW all do the same thing. They display, they broadcast. All Japan does the same thing as well. They all broadcast every single show that they put on. So that's
sometimes you get like, sometimes you can get like quite big storyline stuff. They don't have a weekly TV show or anything. So if you want to see like, why is this match on the pay-per-view, then it's worth keeping up with stuff,
And just like the median match quality is so good, because you have like so much of the roster is so great. Like I would say, if you look at like the middle of the pack in this roster, it blows away pretty much any other roster. Like if you're just looking at it like towards the middle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How it's not top heavy like certain promotions where you only got 4 to 6 guys that you can reliably count on to put on like an awesome match every time. It's genuinely feels like half the roster at this point. So I think that's very cool too. So yeah, that's a great question, D. I appreciate that question. That was a good one. Question from Mad King here. New Japan and Stardom will ever create a joint streaming service with live events like Wrestle Universe? I would love to see it. I mean, to me, Jamie, and I think you probably agree with me here, that just the biggest barrier to entry in Stardom is just that they don't do live shows, that they have an actual like time that it takes to put up uploads, right? We don't know why that is. Some people have speculated that they have a contract with like the host provider. Some people have speculated that it is just to drive like ticket sales and to make it so people can't just like stay at home and watch the show. Like you actually have to come watch it and then you get the broadcast. But in any case, it just feels so, I think personally, outdated to not have a live option. I mean, if you've got Ice Ribbon can do 1080p pay-per-view broadcasts, like no problem, live. They do a live, you can subscribe to Club Ice Ribbon and they do live shows every Friday night, right? It's pretty I don't know. It's hard to imagine that it's for any reason other than either finances or like some kind of contract that they've signed. But I would say, I don't want to say never. And historic crossover makes it seem more likely than it used to. Maybe 6 months ago, I would have said it's pretty unlikely, but now I think it's a little bit more likely than I did. I still think that Bushiroad would rather have multiple revenue streams. Like if you only want Stardom, that's fine. Like they're like, you know what? Here you go. Now, if they put them together, they would almost certainly increase the price. And I don't know if that would be better or worse for business, if that makes sense. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, I mean, personally, I'd like to see a joint service. I don't think it'll happen, and not at least anytime soon. But it's been my biggest gripe with Stardom for a while that they don't live stream the shows. But I don't know if they were to do a joint service. I think it'd get a lot more eyes on. Well, I don't know, because obviously one of the benefits is the cheap, relatively cheap streaming service for Stardom. obviously it would increase in price, but then you're carrying over the New Japan fans who would still, maintain the New Japan World subscription. So it's debatable whether it would be good for their audience or whether it'd drive more people away than bring. But it's an interesting one, but I don't think it's too likely as it stands.
Yeah. We'll have to like hold tight on that one because the IWGP Women's Championship. I mean, that's a real thing, but that's so brand new that it's still unclear like how exactly that's going to be implemented into booking and things like that, right? But if we get more overlap, I mean, I think that would be great. I've always thought that. I think right now, if you follow like the official pronunciation is like great, but I don't want to call it that. I want to call it gleet. Is that they do like one women's match a show, but they have a dedicated, like, it's very small. It's the size of 2 right now, but a women's roster where they incorporate women on every single show, and I think that's kind of cool. And they'll bring in freelancers and stuff like that. And I think New Japan could stand to do stuff like that at more than just their biggest shows. You know what I'm saying? So that would be interesting. Let's see what else we got here. There's some shout out to Maya Fukuda. If we were doing the Joshi draft right now, I would draft Maya Fukuda. She's one of the 10 best wrestlers in Joshi right now. You guys need to go watch her in Glee. She's really good. Maya, if you're watching this, I hope you enjoy the show. Let's see what else. So let's talk. So let's go into what I was kind of getting at a while ago before we had that awesome question from D. And let's talk about the wrestlers themselves. All right, Jamie. Let's just start by like who's your favorite on the roster? Like, who, if you had to pick a number one, who are you picking on this roster?
It's a tough one. It changes all the time, to be honest, depending on, like, I'm not sure. I think at the moment, and maybe for a few months, it's been Momo Watanabe. I think
I like it.
She's been consistently my favorite for a while. I'm still hoping that she gets that red belt run at some point. She's had a few chances, but yeah, she's been super consistent. She's currently mixing up in the tag division with Starlight Kid. But yeah, I think she's just super consistent, always delivers in big matches. And you can, very reliable for a great quality match with whoever she's in there with.
I love Momo. I think she's become, like, for a while, I think she people said she was underrated, and then she became so underrated, like, that people started to like, okay, no, she's pretty properly rated at this point.
Yeah.
But I think like this year, she absolutely has become underrated to me. I think even with like the heel shtick and stuff that she does, like, her work is still like so hard hitting and engaging and fast paced, and she like carries herself a lot differently than the rest of the roster for the most part, and it really just makes her matches come off as unique and engaging. And so I love Momo Watanabe. I think she's great, and I think if she I think I may have said this on a pod, I can't remember, but I think if she were to turn back babyface right now, we would get the best version of her that we've seen yet. I think she's better now, maybe not in terms of like overall match quality, because again, the intra match booking is like kind of wonky sometimes, but I think as just a pure in-ring talent, I think she's better than she's ever been. So I completely agree with that one. Before we go into who I like, I want to think about this question. Penning wants that Kyrie shows up in the Royal Rumble as the IWGP champion. First of all, I don't think she will be IWGP champion because I think Mayu Iwatani is winning the championship. So I would put her at like 4-1 odds that she even wins that title. And then I would put it at like 50-1 odds that she shows up in the Royal Rumble next year. So as IWGP champion, that would be 200-1 odds. So if you want to place that bet, if you want to bet me $10, and if I lose, I'll pay you back $2,000. I'd be willing to do that just for the cool $10. But yeah, I think it's pretty low.
Yeah. I don't fancy the chances there. Never say never. We might. We'll get into it in a little while, but a certain Sasha Banks, there's rumors that she may or maybe not be coming to Stardom at some point. That's the speculation. Based on trademark news. But
trademark. We'll get into some trademark news here. All right, we'll get into that. For me, this is like people think I'm like joking when I say this, but my favorite Stardom wrestler is Saya Ida. I think she's great.
She's
I think
great.
I think she's so charismatic, and I think she is like, in terms of just being a pure babyface, I think she's like literally as good as pretty much anybody in the world. Um, I love how flexible she is in like her variety of what she can do in a wrestling match, because she's like very diminutive. Of course, she's only like 4'9". And so if she's matched up against somebody bigger, she can easily fight valiantly from underneath. But she's so obviously muscular and well built that if she's in there against somebody who is smaller, like if she's wrestling Natsupoi or something, she can beat up on Natsupoi no problem, and it's very convincing too. And then she can give Natsupoi that chance to make a big comeback. So I love her utility on the roster, and I just think she's just great. So Saya Ida is mine. Really quickly, $5 super chat from Dio Loki. Thank you, Dio Loki. Can't wait for a Kyrie versus Mercedes Monet. Monet is how now. Okay, how is this going to be pronounced? Is it like Monet, like I got money, or is it Moan, or is it Monet, or what do you think? What do you think, James?
So when I read it initially, obviously, like I understand the money play on words here, but when I read that word as it is, I read like Monet, just without the context
artist.
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of the. I don't see what was so wrong with Mercedes Venado. You know, I think
it's got to be something. It's not a ring name. There's no way people were so, man. Jamie, you're in the Wrestle Purist chat. Sometimes, especially Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce, they'll just like say stuff, and I'm just like, you guys, what are we doing here? Those are obviously not ring names. They're obviously like maybe they're some merch, or maybe they're a finisher or something like it.
Yeah.
Get out of here. It's a whatever. All right, here. So yes, Scarecrow's got his top 3: Mina, Julia, and Shuri. Well, you must be very excited for the upcoming world title match between Julia and Shuri. Then, those are good top 3. I like that. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the wrestlers. Let's talk. How do we want to do this, Jamie? How do we want to go over these wrestlers?
Should we sort of break down the factions and the different?
Yeah, let's do that.
Very faction oriented, right?
Let's kick it out with the main unit. Let's kick it out with Stars, and let's kick it out with these guys, led by Mayu Iwatani. Take it away.
Yeah, so Stars, they're pretty much your de facto babyface faction, pretty much against anyone who they're facing. Some of the other factions are a little bit. It depends on who they're against, really. There's one clear babyface faction and one clear heel faction, and the rest in between are a bit unsure. But Stars, yeah, they're a babyface faction. You've got Mayu Iwatani, who's like the icon of Stardom, pretty much your ace. You've got the tag team of Hazuki and Kagetsu then, Koguma, both who recently came out of retirement. Well, in the last year or so, came out of retirement.
Which was surprising too. Like Koguma, especially, like she came out of nowhere. She I don't think people knew who she was when she came back. And then Hazuki very much made a name for herself. She was kind of second in command in Oedo to, or not second in command. Well, I guess before Hana Kimura changed, then afterwards she was maybe kind of sick. But anyway, Hazuki was always like an awesome talent, and people really loved her. And I think personally, she's had the best year of her career this year, coming back after that, having seen pretty much her entire career. But yeah, so Stars, babyface unit, Mayu, Hazuki, Koguma are kind of the big 3 in the unit, and then they've got Momokogo, who just joined the company this year. She's very charismatic. I actually think she has like pretty high potential if she becomes a more solid and hard hitting in-ring worker. I see big things for Momokogo and her undefined age. Who else am I got? Ida. Am I missing? And Hanan. And the young wonder, the most dominant future of Stardom champion in history. So I'm a Stars guy. Stars is my favorite faction. I always kind of default to rooting just for the baby faces in whatever promotion I follow, and Stars is as babyface as they get. So if it's like a Stars wrestler or team versus anybody else, I pretty much always go for the Stars wrestler or team, unless it's a singles match against Tam or somebody else who I really like. But yeah, that's them. Let's go. Who else? Let's go with our current champion unit. Let's go with God's Eye.
Yeah. So, like I said, our current World of Stardom champion. We'll get into the championship sort of scene a little bit later, but the red belt, as it's known, Shuri, formerly of Donna Del Mondo, who's another faction we'll get to. She's been world champion now since December of last year. Super dominant, arguably a better year than she had last year. And last year was.
Can we talk about that really quick? Because this is like this is like a thing in the Stardom fandom, is whether Shuri had a better 2021 or 2022. I have very strong feelings on this, and I think I'm like objectively right on this. Jamie, I'm curious what you think her better year was.
I would agree that this year's been better.
This is why you're the king, Jamie.
I think last year, she had the 2 world title matches with Utami, the first of which being super highly rated. I know that brought a lot of fans into Stardom. But I just think this year, she's had all the title defenses and a really great 5-star. And now she's, in the tag league as well with Inaba. I just think she's had a better year overall. But it's close, but I think I would say that this year's been better for Shuri.
I've loved and I'll play that in a sec. I've loved the variety of her title defenses in 2022. You have like kind of classic ones, classic, just what you think of in like a world title defense against people like Julia and Mayu on the 2 Sumo Hall shows earlier in the year, right? Those were pretty much like, when you think of a Japanese wrestling company world title match, those are kind of what you think of, right? Yeah. But then she does all this variety stuff, like the big time, hard hitting babyface versus heel dynamic of the Momo Watanabe match, and the emotion of the Tam Nakano match, and the hardcore nature of the Risa Sarah match too. So I have just adored her output as world champion in 2022, and I was sad, like I was happy that Shuri won the title, and I was ready for the change, but I was also very sad when Utami lost the championship, because she was just such an awesome champion, and somehow Shuri has lived up to that billing. So that's been really cool to see. Really quickly before we resume with God's Eye, thank you, Murph. I hope you have a good time at the Trump rally. I hope you do. I hope you really enjoy yourself there. And yes, you will be back next week for the draft. You will not win the draft, because I will win the draft easily. And I think everybody in the comments will agree with me that I will easily win the draft. But we will see you. We'll see you next week for that, Murph.
Is that what it is tonight? Is he running scared? He's running scared from the draft.
Yeah, I guess he was like, I need more time to prepare. He's like, what if I draft KZ in round 2 and Ibushi's still on the board? Which, by the way, should Ibushi be eligible for the draft? I don't think so. He's been on for too long.
No,
I don't like. It's not happening. It's not happening. Don't lie in the comments. We can see that. Yeah. So yeah, I think Shuri's had a great year. She is joined in God's Eye by Mirai, who joined on the very first show of the year, and Ami Sourei, as well as Tomika Inaba, who has not officially signed with Stardom, but it feels like a foregone conclusion at this point. So these are all people who joined Stardom in 2022. It's very much kind of a second coming of Donna Del Mondo, right? Of all these new people coming in and joining a dominant faction leader. Personally, Jamie, I have not loved God's Eye so far. I have not been super enthralled by them. I don't really get a sense of their team chemistry a lot of the time. I did not enjoy the Mirai Ami Sourei tag pairing at all, and we're getting more of it in the tag league, which will probably help them, right? But I didn't enjoy their tag title matches much at all, especially that 30-minute draw. But I do have to shout out, and I'm also pretty much lower on Mirai than anybody else, considering the push that she's gotten to winning Cinderella, beating Mayu and Julia in consecutive nights on the 5-star clean, right?
It's a pretty huge jump from a like TJPW.
Yeah, from being a TJPW mid-carder. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And then, however, this Ami Saray, she does it for me. Like I love her matches. I really look forward to her wrestling. And in that 5-star, she just kind of turned a switch halfway through. I think it was when she beat Momo, I think, clean. And she has this awesome sitting Fire Thunder driver that just looks like it crushes people. And she's now the future of Stardom champion, which I think is a great choice. So I have enjoyed Ami Saray very much. And personally, I think Ami Saray is better than Mirai already. Some people might not like that, but I do. Wow, I straight up did not know this. Jamie, is this true that Nanami from Diana joined the faction?
Yeah. You know, she's one of the.
She's a child. She's like 16 years old.
Well, there are younger people on the Stardom roster.
I guess that's true, and they're in factions too. That's really weird. That's an odd choice. So, this is how you know I'm a wrestling fan. I can tell you a story about Nanami from like 2 years ago from a Diana show. One of my worst rated matches I've ever watched was she was in a triple threat with Asuka Veni and someone else, and Asuka gave this child a shoot headbutt, and she was like 14. Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, why did you do that? That was terrible. Don't ever do that again on my screen. So that was really weird. Just, you know, so that's how you know I'm in the shit, because I watch fucking Diana like nobody else does. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go to the faction that God's Eye split out of, which is Donna Del Mundo. Jamie.
Yeah, so Donna Del Mundo, like you've already alluded to, they were super dominant when they first, well, for quite a while anyway, when they first arrived on the scene. They're headed up by Julia, who, for those who have been following Stardom this year, she won this year's 5-star Grand Prix, which is essentially the G1 climax sort of round robin style tournament. So she'll be challenging Shuri in December for the world title. She's also joined there by Himeka and Maika, who are currently in the tag league as Mai Hime. I think they're going to win the tag league potentially, and they're two. I love Maika and Himeka. They're two who you can throw in like the tag scene or the main event scene, either or, and they're super reliable for a big match. And then they also have Tekla, who's the only non-Japanese or current non-Japanese member of the roster, unless you're counting the Neo Stardom army. I'm not. So, well, yeah, and she's more so. She was SWA champion for a while, because the rules of that belt made it kind of obvious.
It made sense for her to be champion.
Yeah. And am I forgetting anyone else? Oh, and
Mai Sakurai. Yeah. So this is like Mai Sakurai is like pretty clearly in hindsight the reason that Donna Del Mundo is not the dominant faction that they used to be. Like she is there to take pins, and she does so very often. Although,
because for the start, right, they had like 5 members and none of them were a pin eater.
No, yeah, right. before the year, they had Julia, Shuri, Maika, Himeka, Natsupoi, which is like there's nobody taking pins in that unit. Yeah, and then Mirai and Tekla. Like Mirai literally never loses, and Tekla very rarely loses. So yeah, Mai Sakurai, that was clearly her intention there. But I enjoy this faction. I love the dynamic, especially of those top 3, Julia, Maika, and Himeka. I think they work so well together. I would not be shocked if they are a mainstay in this faction for at least another year to come, because I just think they're. I just think they have such great chemistry. Like I don't think anybody would say that Maika and Himeka are stale or like together as a team, or that Julia as the leader of this group has become stale. Maybe when they were so dominant, but now that they're actually a little bit vulnerable at times, it becomes a lot better. And especially considering Julia's almost certainly going to be red belt champion at this time 2 months from now. So yeah, I enjoy this faction quite a bit. I'm a big Micah fan in particular. She's one of my favorites on the roster, but Julia is too. It almost feels I don't know. I've always weirdly been like reluctant to put Julia among my very favorites on the roster, but she's so consistently awesome that I'm just like, what? I think it might be like Ice Ribbon Resentment or something, but she's so great. Thank you, Brian Pillman Jr. again for your comments. I got to be honest. I got to be honest. I have to think Japanese Julia is just ever so slightly better than Julia Hart, but yeah, I appreciate that you're hyping your former stable member up. And have you reached out to her? Like, is she doing okay with the House of Black? Because I know they're like going through some shit right now, and I just wanted to, so just keep us all posted and reach out if you need anything. Thanks, Brian. Okay, where should we go next? Should we go to the faction that kind of warred with Donna Del Mondo late in the summer this year, which was Cosmic Angels after the big turn of Natsupoi. But the faction is led by the great Tam Nakano. Jamie, take it away.
So Cosmic Angels, they for a while were the smallest faction in Stardom. They had like 3 members. And now I believe they're the biggest because they've taken in colors as well. Which we'll get to.
They are the biggest faction.
Yeah.
Even after the departure of Unagi Sayaka.
I still believe she's still a member, right? But she's just sort of like not around.
Does she wrestle? Has she wrestled in Stardom recently or not?
No, she hasn't. She's been doing. Where is she at the moment?
She's been doing stuff in Marvelous.
Yeah, I think she's got stuff with Sendai Girls maybe, or which got a tag match coming up. But I think she's sort of on like, I don't know. She's still a member. She's just sort of flying the flag elsewhere for a bit. And they have enough members to cover it.
They've got plenty. They aside from her, they have. Let's see. Yeah, outside of her, they have 8 members. So I think they're fine.
Yeah. So like I said, we got Tam Nakano. She was before Saya Kamatani, who we'll get to. She was the white belt champion, which is sort of like the secondary world title. They sort of have 2 belts who are on a similar level. They're sort of
it's very much IWGP heavyweight and intercontinental.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah. And she's had an incredible year. She's currently one half of the Goddess of Stardom champions, which is like the tag belt with Natsupoi, who we've mentioned, formerly of Donna Del Mondo. Big storyline in the summer. She decided to turn on Julia and join Cosmic Angels after a little rivalry with Tam Nakano. So it was a bit of a swerve. Although it made sort of sense it wasn't sort of like just pure shock factor. It made sense. Like I thought
it made great sense. In fact, I talked about, so shout out to Scott in the 5-star Joshi show, but I talked to him about this turn on the pod, and I just loved the storytelling in it. I thought it was so good. I loved the in the moment performances from everybody in DDM, actually, specifically, where I think Maika was very like standoffish and almost confrontational, like trying to fight, whereas Himeka was very clearly hurt, and Julia tried to play it off as like, oh, okay, you were just DDM's mascot and everything like that, right? And I just thought the emotional storytelling there was so good, and it's just one of the examples of what makes Stardom so engaging. All right, because they're not doing swerves every week, they're not changing these people around. I mean, these factions are pretty much set. If you go back a year, aside from the additions and of course God's Eye, the factions don't really look that much different than they did a year ago. And so it makes something like that so important. One note about the factions, and I kind of talked about this last week, I think, is that, of course, being the faction leader is important, but the faction number 2 is also an incredibly important position in Stardom. And so this was like a huge shift because it changed Natsupoi, who was like a number 4 in DDM, or maybe even like a number 5, maybe. into the number 2 wrestler in Cosmic Angels, and it allowed her to get this push to where she's now a tag champ, and you could easily see her winning a white belt in the future, right? Whereas maybe at this time a year ago, it didn't seem like that likely of a prospect, and so the faction warfare just makes it that much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we want to talk about here, Jamie?
We also have Mina Shirakawa. We didn't mention Mina Shirakawa.
Of course, we got to talk. I'm sorry, Scarecrow. That's so important. Yeah, we got to talk about Mina. She just did that awesome performance. She's one who I frankly did not think was any good up until about 3 months ago, and then she started putting on great matches in the 5-star, and it was like, wow. Yeah, she started working the leg. It was like every idiot wrestling fan's dream when they think that like selling the leg is the most important thing that a wrestler can do. But it actually happened, and she came out and she had that one of a kind, like once in a lifetime post-match promo against Saya Kamitani a couple weekends ago, where after the injury. But so that's been really cool to see too. Colors, they haven't done as much in Stardom as I would have liked. I'm a big fan of Saki, and I don't know if she's lived up to her talent quite yet in the company. So I'll be interested to see what she does in the future there. The rest of the crew doesn't wrestle in the company quite as much.
Yeah. And Waka Tsukiyama as well.
And of course, Waka. So she always loses. She has never won, and when she wins, it'll be a big deal. I'm excited for. I hope it's against Mai Sakurai. It has to be against Mai Sakurai, in my opinion. And that'll be great when she eventually.
She's been bundled with Saki of Colors now in the tag league due to Mina's injury.
Poor Saki. Saki was gonna get like Saki and Mina was gonna be such a fun pairing, and it's fucking Waka Tsukiyama. Like, ugh.
Tournament's over.
yeah. So sorry, Saki. Why can't we just get Hikari Shimizu back from Mexico or whatever she's doing? Okay, let's see. Who do we have left here? Oedo Tai. Let's talk about them, and then we'll close it out with a lot of people's favorite faction in Queen's Quest. But we'll start with Oedo Tai. Kind of undefined who the leader is right now. I think they still kind of default to Tora. But she was gone. Yeah, but she was gone for so long, and it kind of switched back and forth between Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe for a while. But it does seem like Tora is the leader with her back, and they are the one clear heel faction in the company. So in addition to those three, we'll just talk about the sort of the ones at the top, and then we'll get into some of the minutiae.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, obviously Natsuko Tora is technically the leader, but she's been out for over a year with a knee injury. So in her absence, Starlight Kid, who joined the faction, she was forced to join the faction just before her injury. She's really taken the mantle of leader, and she's been like incredible since. She's had a really great year. I wasn't sure how I was gonna. I think initially she was hesitant, and then all of a sudden she was like super into it with the heel stuff, and now she's the best she's ever been. I think she's another one like Natsupoi, who is being super elevated by a faction change to the point where she's now like a credible white belt challenger. And she's currently teaming with Momo Watanabe as Black Desire, who is another who joined Oedo Tai within the last year or so from Queen's Quest. And yeah, I've talked about her earlier in the podcast as she's my favorite wrestler in Stardom. Super consistent and like arguably underrated, like you mentioned. They've also got Saki Kashima, who's another personal favorite of mine. I really like Saki Kashima. She's she loves a roll-up victory. She's one of those in the 5-star Grand Prix in the tournaments who can pin anyone. She's sort of the spoiler. She's there to give you a series.
Are they still trios champions? Are they still the artist champions?
Yeah.
That's a good team. That's a good. The Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Saki Kashima is a really fun trios team to hold those titles. So that's a good one. Yeah, we got Fukigen Death, the legend Kaori Yoneyama, but unfortunately she doesn't wrestle as Kaori Yoneyama. She's just comedy. Fukigen Death, and they got the child. They got Rina. Is there anybody else? Am I missing? Oh, Ruaka. Yeah, Ruaka's in there as too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they have Haruka Umasaki as Karma.
Oh yeah, Karma. Wow. See, Umasaki's really good. She of like all the freelance people who are kind of like tangentially hanging around Stardom right now, I think she's maybe the best. So I'm looking forward to her wrestling in the company a lot more frequently in the future. I don't know about this Karma gimmick, although I did watch New Blood yesterday for the first time. By the way, that show like sucked. I thought that show was like bad. Rhythm, JTO Rhythm. I'm sorry for any Rhythm stands in here, but she's literally the worst wrestler in the world. Like she is so unbelievably bad. It's like shocking. Did you know she got kicked out of the JTO dojo and had to like reapply and be like they had to be like sorted out and then like try again. Oh, she's so bad. I watched her at an Ice Ribbon Dojo match like in like August with Saran, who I don't know if you know who Saran is, but she's 13 years old. And Saran was like calling spots and being like, okay, we got to get this match under control because this is not going well. It was very funny. So anyway, sorry, I did not like that show.
I don't like keep up with JTO or anything, but I'm familiar with a few of the graduates from the dojo. Like Micah of DDM,
Micah, Mirai,
Inaba, Mirai, and Aoi as well. I'm a big
Aoi's good. Yeah, Aoi's good.
Yeah, Rhythm wasn't not exactly living up to that.
Misa Kagura is good. I don't know if you know who that is, but she's a good
wrestler. Yeah, she's been on a New Blood show.
Has she? Okay, she's wrestled in Ice Ribbon a ton this year, and she's in one of Ice Ribbon's. She's in a faction with Rina Amikura of Colors in Ice Ribbon, led by an Ice Ribbon wrestler. So it's crazy. We got Ice Ribbon verse going on. So there is one more faction we have not talked about. By the way, with Oedo Tora has a lot to prove to me yet. I am waiting because I thought Oedo was borderline bad before she got injured. And again, this is right when Starlight Kid joins, right? So she's still finding her footing there. Oedo matches are still all interference and ref bumps and distractions, and Tora uses that chain. Ruaka uses the like bin, all that type of stuff, right? Tora goes down. It was very sad because I was really looking forward to that title match. But then Starlight Kid doesn't do the heel shit. Like she just wrestles like Starlight Kid, just with like a bad attitude. And then Momo Watanabe joins the faction as well. And Momo, of course, does the heel stuff. She adds the wrench gimmick, but she's still Momo Watanabe. So she's wrestling awesome, right? So I'm really hoping that they temper what they were going for before Tora's injury and lean more into, because I think she's got a great look and I think she can be a very convincing like brawler, wrestling very similar to someone like Momo Watanabe. I just hope they limit like the chain stuff and the choking and all that. It's just not entertaining to me. So we'll see what they do with the heel faction here. All right, last one, right? Unless I'm forgetting somebody. We have Queen's Quest, led by Utami Hayashishida, formerly led by Momo Watanabe, but this year it's Utami. So Utami and Saya the story for Queen's Quest this year has been Saya Kamitani holding the white belt for the entire calendar year. So what else is there to know about QQ?
Yes, obviously, Utami Hayashishida, the leader, she won. I believe they had a big multi-woman match to determine the leader of Queen's Quest earlier in the year, because it was previously Momo Watanabe before she left and joined the Oedo Tai. So Utami, as we mentioned earlier, she's formerly World of Stardom champion. She had that for like the whole year where she had it before losing to Shuri. I like she's been getting a bit more into showed a bit more personality this year, because she was sort of like the stoic, like
I agree
very much. And now she's been sort of like mixing up with Tam and doing the whole Utami Nakano thing, but showing a bit more character.
It's so entertaining. I love it.
Yeah. But and then like you mentioned, we've got Saya Kamitani, who's had a really great year. She won the white belt on the same show as Shuri won the red belt. So those two have been like the two top champions for the whole year. And she's been like having a really, really great year. I know quite a few people have talk about Saya as being like the wrestler of the year on the women's side this year. I would say Shuri pretty much after the 5-star, but around the first half of the year, I think it was up for debate who you chose the best, depending on like your preferences and stuff. Then you've got Azumi, who is currently the high speed champion. And she's like, well, she's like 19, 20. She's been wrestling since.
Yeah, I think she's
been
20.
training
Yeah.
for years. She's 20 and she's like a 10-year veteran. Or
Yeah,
something like that.
She's like the third longest tenured member of the roster or something like that.
Yeah. There's a great picture of Azumi
yeah,
training
I know
in
what
the
you're talking
with,
about. Yeah,
she's with Kyrie and she's like a little child. And
it's like the new class of trainees, and it's like her and Kyrie. And Kyrie's like this grown woman, and Azumi's a literal child. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So then you've got Lady C. I don't know you're not the biggest fan of Lady C.
I think she's garbage at wrestling. Although I do like her vibe, and she's a teacher like me, so that's fine.
Yeah. I don't mind Lady C. I don't think she's incredible or anything, but I don't think she's too.
I think she's pretty bad, Jamie. I'm sorry. I mean, we can have differing opinions, but I'm like, remember when Unagi debuted her new finisher this year with like the crazy upside down driver, and then Lady C like forgot how to take it and like almost died, and she was gone for like a month. That was pretty funny. I mean, well, no, it wasn't funny. I shouldn't say that. That was very sad. That was very callous of me to say that. It was not funny. I meant more the not knowing how to take the move was funny. The injury result was not funny. That's kind of my escape there. But yeah, and then we have another child. We have the twin of Rena. We have Hina.
Yeah. We didn't mention. Did we mention Rena when we talked about?
Yeah, I mentioned it very briefly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's the three sisters, right? So Hanan of Stars, the older sister, and then we have the twins, Hina and Rena. I like how they're all in separate factions. Sometimes they get paired in the tag league. They didn't do it this year, but they always have like a will they coexist?
Yeah,
they never do. But
so we've just gone through the entire roster here. QQ is very much these are wrestlers like faction, right? This is just like you're looking for some good ass wrestling. You're looking at the top three in QQ, right? So I enjoy them as a group. I think there's more they can do with the Utami Saya partnership now that because they were formerly tag champions, but this was way before they got to any sort of stardom that they have now, right? So I think there's more they can do there. But
I think they
go ahead.
They could be a decent shout to win the tag league, and they could be the next champions, depending on
if I was booking, they're who I would do if I was booking it.
Yeah. Well, we did mention Amasaki as well.
I literally forgot about her.
They pushed her as like the new like super rookie, but she's like very infrequently on the shows. And it's
she's like not that, she doesn't like live up to that standard to me of being like a super rookie. I don't know. It feels like anytime you're pushed as a super rookie, you're not. Whereas people will just like Suzu Suzuki will kind of come out of nowhere and become great. But we got Jonathan asking about Neo, Stardom Army, and Prominence. Yeah, these are kind of like outsider factions. I think one of them's called Neo Stardom Army, and they're an outsider faction. But so that's Nanai Takahashi and Yu and Alpha Female. These are all people who were essential to Stardom's foundation towards the start that have kind of gone away. Yu, by the way, quietly has had like a really unique and wide-ranging career, like Stardom, all over the indies, of course, all over foreign stuff. Like she's currently billed as being from Pro Wrestling Eve, like that's her like home promotion. TJPW Princess champion, like she's been all over the place. So they just recently formed in the last couple months, and they're in the tag league as well. I love Nanai Takahashi. I think she's awesome. So I'm not quite as down on this group as a lot of people are. Some people don't. Jamie, can you kind of, because I don't really engage with people on this as much anymore. What's kind of first of all, what's like the general justification for why people are kind of down on it, and what's your kind of estimation of Neo Stardom Army?
Well, I'm not I'm not super down on it. Like some people like absolutely despise it. I didn't touch on it. I didn't say to touch on it because they're not like always there sort of thing. So I don't think they're like an official. But I think it's sort of like the vibe they're going with is sort of like they're the old, the older generation, and they're coming back as Stardom's rubbish, and they're gonna make it, like it was back in the day. And it's like Stardom's the best it's been in forever. It's sort of like everyone's like, "No, we're all right."
No, we're good, man. That's okay.
Yeah, but no, I like all the wrestlers in there. I like Nanai, and I like you. But
I like you too.
I sort of understand it, but I don't hate them as much.
I like this. I like this sort of reading of it, which is that Nanai is playing a parody of what fans think she is. Like, there are a lot of people on like non-Japanese Twitter, Joshi Twitter, who fucking hate Nanai Takahashi, who think she's like garbage and old and only puts over herself. And to a certain extent, I think that is kind of true. I think she's an awesome wrestler. But there is very much some idea that she's very much like a mark for herself and puts herself over in situations where she doesn't necessarily need to, right? But it's not like she's not going to win the red belt. She's not going to win the white belt. She's not going to win the IWGP Women's Championship. Like, she's in tag league. Like, she might win tag league. And if she and you win tag league and face Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, like, that's a pretty good match in my opinion. That's not the end of the world, right? I don't think she's like, Stardom is so obviously not in the business, and I actually think this is like a bit of a negative mark on them, but they're so very obviously not in the business of pushing people who are of a certain age, right? Like, they're not going to push Nanai Takahashi as one of their top stars going forward. No. They very much love their wrestlers to be pretty young, pretty attractive, and pretty damn good wrestlers. And like, people can make their own opinions, but like, I would say the average person would say she's like, Nanai only checks off the really good wrestler part of that. And some people don't even think she checks off that. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think they are completely fine as an outsider act for the tag league, right? I think that's completely fine. The other one that people are wondering about is Prominence, which is a group. You know what? I'll take this one, Jamie. They're a group of former Ice Ribbon wrestlers, which I consider to be the superior pro wrestling product in the world of wrestling, who left the company late last year and essentially started running hardcore shows and doing their own thing. Jamie has escaped. Anyway, I'll just vamp about Prominence until he comes back. So they are led by Risa Serra. Everything good, broski?
Just get my charger.
Oh, okay. All right. It's okay.
Nearly lost me for good there.
Oh no. Good call. So the Risa Serra is the leader. Suzu Suzuki is kind of the wunderkind, right? The very much prodigy. She's about the same age as Azumi, and so they're very much. Suzu is, a lot of people consider to be. I mean, she's already fantastic. I think the term prodigy almost like undersells it right now because she's there right now. She's an awesome wrestler. And then they've got people like Hiragi Kurumi and Akane Fujita and Mochi Natsumi. I think that's the crew right there. But they all left Ice Ribbon late last year to do a lot of hardcore matches. And this year they've been a pretty focal part of Stardom's booking. They're on most of the pay-per-views, I'd say. And Risa Serra had a world title match against Shuri, big time feud with her as well. Suzu is doing the same thing with Julia. I am very excited at a potential red belt match for Suzu when Julia wins the title. So that'll be very exciting. But I think these are all great wrestlers. I do kind of wish they were still an Ice Ribbon because they make the company that much better and they're that talented. But without going to like inside baseball, I have inside knowledge that Ice Ribbon wrestlers do not like the Prominence wrestlers, and they are glad they're gone. I'm aware of this, so I think it'll work out for the best. Yeah, I do literally have ice ribbon scoops. Yeah, not an ice cream scoop, but an ice ribbon scoop. So that's what we got here. But Yeah. What do you think about Prominence?
I love Prominence. I think they've been a really nice addition to Stardom. In the shows they've featured on, they feature quite heavily on the Stardom in Showcase shows as well, which we might get into.
Yes, they do.
Later, but Stardom have 3 brands, which we'll touch on sort of. But yeah, I like that you mentioned the potential red belt match with Suzu, because since Shuri won the red belt, I think it's been pretty nailed on that Julia was the next champion. Just like, just that was pretty the obvious direction to go in. However, once Julia wins, I'm not entirely sure who they'll go with as the next red belt champion. And I don't know whether they'll do it because she's not exactly tied down to the company. But I would love I wouldn't mind Suzu beating Julia for that red belt.
That'd be pretty crazy.
I think she's been incredible in every match I've seen her in, so I wouldn't mind it.
She has the best New Blood match of all time. Again, the Mirai match, I'd say.
Yeah.
So let's get into that then. Let's talk about some of the other brands that they put on. Obviously, there's you get Stardom proper, you get all the main stuff, the big title matches, the storylines you enjoy, what you expect out of a Japanese wrestling company, right? There's also Stardom and Show. Or let's talk about New Blood first. So New Blood is when Stardom takes in freelancers, wrestlers from other companies, right? Mostly very young and inexperienced wrestlers, and gives them a platform to interact with their own young and inexperienced wrestlers. So, I mean, we've had people from all over, from Sendai Girls, from JTO, from Marvelous, from Diana, from places that even like I, as like a pretty in-depth Joshi fan, like I had no idea who this Linda person was until she showed up on New Blood. But I enjoy it from Gato Move, of course. I enjoy these shows because previously, before I was gainfully employed, I would watch as much wrestling as possible, and that included a lot of Joshi indies. And now I straight up don't have the time. I don't get to watch Sendai Girls like I'd like. I don't get to watch Marvelous like I'd like, a lot of that stuff, right? So this gives me a chance to like check in on these people who I'm kind of somewhat familiar with, and just kind of see how they're going. So I enjoy New Blood. I have yet to see like I think Mirai Suzu is like the one like really, really good New Blood match you could have yet. There've been 5 of them at this point, and a lot of the matches have been skippable, but I'm a big proponent of the idea that if you see a wrestler once and they click with you, then you're a fan for life. And so that's why I'm a fan of the concept here. And it's introduced people like Yuna Mizumori, right? Who looks like she may be coming in as a full-time wrestler to the company. So what do you think about New Blood?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of New Blood, but a lot of the similar points that you made apply for me. There's not been like crazy high match quality, but that's to be expected. The whole vibe is that they're relatively inexperienced, wrestlers, and you get a nice mix. Like you mentioned with like Linda, there are lots of wrestlers that I've discovered for the first time on these New Blood shows, and even though the match quality is not super high, you get the vibe of like, who your favorite wrestlers are and stuff like that. So I found a lot of pretty cool wrestlers on the New Blood shows. They're free to watch on YouTube, and they are live, which is a cool thing about the New Blood shows. So they're a pretty good one to watch. Pretty easy, accessible, and they've been a nice little addition to the Stardom calendar.
Let's talk quickly about the other brand, Stardom and Showcase. Like, this is something that is pretty much brand new. It's only a couple months old at this point, the concept, and we've seen some really cool stuff, some really fun stuff. We've seen some stuff that some people consider like some of the worst stuff that Stardom has ever done. But kind of go into what the idea of Stardom and Showcase is as a brand.
So Stardom and Showcase, I've tried to describe this to a few people, and I'm not entirely sure myself what Stardom and Showcase is. But essentially, it is sort of Stardom, trying out all these different experiments or like different gimmick matches that you wouldn't usually get on a Stardom, Stardom proper. So like we've had coffin matches where we've had a mystery Grim Reaper. We've had these Force Count Anywhere matches where there's like bouncy castles and stuff like that.
See, I loved that match so much. Yeah, that Falls Count Anywhere match. I thought I was just so entertained, and I love all 4 of those wrestlers. Koguma, Azumi, Tam. Who was the other one?
Micah.
I don't even remember. Was it Micah?
I think
Can't
so.
remember. But the match was so good. I loved that so much.
I think they're doing another. Is it another Falls Count Anywhere on the next one? I think it's Starlight Kid, Koguma, and Azumi.
Oh, that's going to be so good.
That's going to be good.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. But then you've also had matches like the Cosmic Rules matches, which is, I'm not exactly sure what the Cosmic Rules are per se. But
they're like I don't even want to like talk about it. It's just like blatant like sexploitation, which is like part of the deal in Stardom, right? You have like former Grev Order idols and all that type of stuff, but it's not. That's not what I'm looking for when I watch wrestling. No. If I wanted to watch something like that, I'll fire up something else to do that. So, yeah. So we spent like so much time on that. So I want to do a couple things before we close it out here. Okay. First, I want to answer Matt's question here. I think this is a super fun question of what we're looking at. Instead of all the champions in 2023, I'm going to slightly adjust it. I'm just going to say the next champion for all the main belts. All right. So let's do red belt, white belt, IWGP, and Goddess. All right. Let's do the next champion for those four. So red belt, who do you like? I think red belt's pretty obvious. I think we both think it's going to be Julia, right? Yeah. Who would we say after Julia though? I'm kind of curious about what you kind of think there. You did mention Suzu as a possibility.
Yeah, so I think Suzu's possible. I think another one that might be possible, maybe, is Tam. I think
I would love that personally.
Yeah, she had a lengthy rivalry with Julia. Dating back like a few years now. So I think she'd be a good option. I think she's someone who deserves a red belt reign. She had a really great white belt reign, and she's had a really great year as well this year in the tag division. So I think she'd be good. Suzu as well, like I mentioned earlier, if they're up for it, because she's not signed to Stardom, but I think that they can make that work. And other than that,
a couple other people I'm thinking of are you can never count out Mayu, right?
Yeah.
I think Utami Julia is like a gigantic match that they have yet to do. Yeah. So I would not be surprised. Like I would be shocked if Utami is at least not a challenger at some point for Julia, and I think she may overtake her. And then the other one is Momo Watanabe. I think if she like turns back babyface and gets a faction behind her and really gets going, I think that could be a possibility as well. So it feels like there's like still like 3 or 4 people that we haven't even mentioned that it could be. So I love that about the roster. It feels like there's a plan for everything, but it also feels like there's a lot of different ways they could take things. So let's do white belt. Who's gonna dethrone Saya? You think is it going to be Kairi?
Well, I was just about to mention. So Kairi, she was meant to challenge Saya Kamatani for the white belt earlier in the year. I believe she was ill around the time when it was about to happen. That match is now scheduled for the next pay-per-view, which is this Saturday.
4 days.
But it's very interesting timing because obviously the following day she'll be in the main event of the New Japan X Stardom historic crossover show. Challenging Mayu for the IWGP Women's Championship. So, for me, it's pretty tricky to predict where they're going with this because, on one hand, if she wins the white belt, are they going to have her then lose the next day to Mayu? If she wins the white belt, which one did I say first there?
You said if she wins first, yeah.
Yeah, so if she loses the white belt, then...
Is she going to lose twice in the same...
She's going to lose twice in a row. She hasn't lost since coming back to Stardom.
Was the white belt and then win the IWGP, but then why did Mayu relinquish the SWA?
Exactly, right? Yeah. I think it's pretty nailed on that Mayu wins that match. So then what are we doing with Kairi here? Alternatively, do you give her both the belts? I don't think that's where they're going to go with it.
It's very wide open. It's very interesting booking here. And this is kind of leaning into the other thing I want to do, which is just talk about these big shows coming up this weekend. Yeah. Man, I think it's going to be Kairi wins the white belt, and then Mayu wins on Sunday. I think you're able to get away with that a little bit because it's such a unique environment and atmosphere with the New Japan show that it's not going to feel to me like the white belt champion is losing. She just won it the night before. We're on a New Japan show. It's for a brand new championship. We're doing something completely new.
Yeah.
It's not like they're doing 2 nights at Sumo Hall like they did at the beginning of the year. It's not like that, right?
There'll be eyes on that show that I haven't even seen like a Stardom show before.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's okay. I think that's the most likely outcome is Kyrie. But then after Kyrie, I think that is a very interesting question. And for me, I think my Portuguese friend has hit the nail on the head here. I think Starlight Kid has to be the most likely choice for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
She's got that built-in story with Saya, how she just can't beat her, right? She so desperately wants that white belt championship. I think that what they should do, like if they want to actually make money on this, is do Mayu versus give Mayu the white belt at some point and go. I guess it doesn't have to be the white belt, but it feels like it should be. And then do Mayu versus Starlight Kid for that championship title versus mask. And then I think Starlight Kid should win that match, not lose the mask, and then maybe eventually end up losing that mask at some point. Maybe she does mask versus hair against somebody for the title, and then she ends up losing the mask instead of somebody losing the hair. Because I do think she's going to lose that mask at some point. But yeah, I think Starlight Kid is the next most likely white belt champion.
Yeah.
Tag belts. Go ahead.
I was going to say another possible option for maybe after Kyrie, if she does win that white belt, you could maybe go down the Natsupoi route. She's another one who's been elevated, and they have history as tag team partners. So that could be something you play up to there. But she's someone who I think has been elevated into that scene since joining Cosmic Angels.
Nice. Yeah, there's lots of people. I like Johnny's here with Hazuki as well. It feels like Hazuki hasn't had a singles title challenge this year, which feels crazy because she's had an awesome year, right? So that's I guess she did challenge for the high speed, didn't she? In that 3-way with Fukigen Death. But yeah, so that's interesting. All right, let's talk about these shows real quick. Let's get through these. Let's talk about the 19th first, Saturday, which is, I don't even recall. Is that the Micah match? Is that Shuri Micah? Or did we do that already?
Oh, it's Shuri Utami.
Utami, oh my god.
Yeah.
Mo, I'm so freaking tuned out of this. I'm like, oh my god, we're getting Shuri. We're doing. Hold your horses for a second here, everybody. This is why having a job is so nice, because you get, unlike my listeners, you get surprised by these awesome things that you're like, wait a minute. On 2 straight nights, are you fucking kidding me? We're getting a double main event of Kyrie versus Saya and Shuri versus Utami. And then the following day, we're doing the first ever New Japan Stardom crossover show that has an Osprey US title match and Mayu versus Kyrie for a New Japan championship. What is this? I'm so busy this weekend. I won't be able to watch it. Man, I'm so.
It's what I mean about the consistency, man. Stardom, you can't miss any of these shows.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. So Stardom Gold Rush, I believe, is the name of the pay-per-view this Saturday. So obviously we've talked about those two main events. That Kyrie versus Saya match has been something I've been looking forward to since they started teasing it. When Kyrie came back, it was like the first sort of. They sowed the seeds early in the teasers for Kyrie coming back that match will be happening. Again, it's a little weird timing with the challenge on the next day, but it'll still be an incredible match regardless of how they choose to go with it. Kyrie has been like insanely good. She's not had like tons of matches, but the quality for the amount of matches she's had has been like insane since their return to.
I posited this on. When we did the Joshi draft on the 5-star, that was myself, Scott, Alex, and Dylan. And I posited that Kyrie on like a per minute basis has been like pretty much the best wrestler in the world this year. Like, I think she's electrifying when she's wrestled this year. And there are some people that are kind of like thought that some of those tag matches were just okay that she's done. I think every single one of them has been like fantastic. I've just been enthralled by everything she does. The only like black mark I think is that the alpha female match wasn't that good, and
Yeah.
in fact, Mayu had a much better match with alpha female like just a week or two later, or maybe the next night. I can't remember. It was a week or two later, right? I'm so lost on this on my timelines here, but yeah. So I mean that. Gosh, that's a crazy weekend. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So then obviously you've got, you know, the main event of the show, that Utami versus Shuri match. The you know, that match in the summer of last year was probably the match that got, I mentioned this, a lot of people into Stardom for the first time.
It's the most important match in Stardom history, without a doubt.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the best, not even just one of the best. A lot of people say best women's matches. One of the best matches I've seen. Like, it was really incredible. I loved it.
Incredible.
And they've had a few matches since. Obviously, they had the rematch later in the year in December, which Shuri won. But every time these two are in the ring together, it's like feels special. You know, incredible rivalry they've got. I don't think Utami will be winning or anything. Obviously, we've already talked about Julia, pretty nailed on to be the next Red Belt champion, but it'll still be incredible nonetheless. Elsewhere on the card, we got high speed championship match, Azumi versus Momo Hanazono, who is someone that is on some of the New Blood cards. What promotion is Momo Hanazono from? I'm not super familiar with it outside.
Is she
just freelance, or?
I think she might be. I wanted to say she was like Gato move or something, but I could be wrong. Oh my god, can I just get cage match here up in this bitch? I love cage match. I spend more time on cage match now than actually like watching wrestling matches. Yeah, she oh wow. Oh yeah, she's not Gato move at all. She does like Collega Pro and like Oz Academy. Who is this person? Dotonbori Pro. She was on the Colors show. Wow. What a good resume. She wrestles a lot. She's wrestled like 100 matches this year already.
Wow. So I've only really seen on these new.
I don't know about this one. I haven't been a huge fan thus far, and she obviously hasn't made like a huge impression on me.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, she's been in there with Waka in most of these New Blood shows. So, you know, she's been taking a lot of L's, but you know, I think this is a big you know, on a big stage for her. We'll really get to see what she's like, you know, how she stands up against some of the better women's wrestlers in there. So I'm interested to see how she performs there. We've got a TLC match on this pay-per-view. So there's another thing thrown in there. So I believe the prize for this TLC match is like a load of money. I don't.
Yeah, what is it, like 100,000 yen? Is that what it is, or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. So there'll be two you know, trios matches. We got a Donna Del Mondo versus Cosmic Angels match, and then a Stars versus God's Eye, and then the winner of those will be in that TLC match, which should be fun. You get a few of these, you know, one or two throughout the year. We've had like steel cage matches and ladder matches sprinkled in on occasion every few months on these big Stardom pay-per-views. So, you know, they tend to hold off on them. You get more of them on these Stardom and Showcase shows. So when they bust them out, they feel like pretty important. So that should be fun. And then you just got some tag league matches,
undercard tag league stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Mikey May, Nana stuff.
So we're both predicting a Kairi title win, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Shuri will retain against Utami, we believe. Yeah. All right. Maybe they'll do another time limit draw. We'll see. I sure hope not. Okay. New Japan Stardom historic crossover main event is Kairi versus Mayu Iwatani, and I think it's going to be Mayu winning that IWGP Women's title. What do you think?
I would agree. I think I wasn't so sure until she relinquished that SWA championship, and now I think that's like pretty nailed on, especially with the white belt match the night before. I think Kairi will win the white belt, and then Mayu wins this. I think that's the way to go with it. And I think, like, you know, either of them would have been like a really great choice as first champion. That's what made it like difficult decision initially. But I think Maya's like, she's like the face of Stardom. I think she's, you know, she's a great person to have carrying that as the first champion. So I think that's a pretty solid choice.
So then we also on the card, I agree. By the way, I think it just feels like relinquishing the SWA just makes no sense if she's not going to win it. Like, I just don't understand like that as a story beat if that's not going to be the case. Let's go over some of these mixed tag matches that we're going to see as well. So we have some undercard stuff that I think is just kind of par for the course. We have Tom Lawler and Shuri, right? The UFC team of Tom Lawler and Shuri taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Julia.
Have they referred to themselves yet as Zack Sabre Julia? Because I think
Sabre Julia. I don't know
have they
that
not done that yet?
They need to get on that, huh? What's that about? That'll be a ton of fun. And this isn't really so much as a preview because the point isn't really the results. It's more just the interaction, right? So we won't do like predictions or anything for these. We have intra Suzuki Gun warfare with Taichi Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Tam Nakano, and Natsupoi taking on El Desperado, Doki, Momo Watanabe, and Starlight Kid. So the big pairings there are Taichi and Tam on one team and Desperado and Starlight Kid on the other team. They interact all the time in like variety stuff and YouTube and all that type of stuff. So that should be really fun.
Yeah.
We also had go ahead.
So for these mixed tag matches, they've laid down the rules that only, you know, men will only wrestle the men and women will only wrestle the women. The wrestlers themselves have been quite vocal that
they've said other things.
So whether that will be the case on the night or whether they'll pull a Shibata and go into business for themselves against the New Japan rules, I don't know, but we'll see. I think it would have been nice for them to mix it up, but
my guess is some of these fellows will take some slaps and maybe a suplex at some point. I don't know if we'll ever see a guy hit one of the females with a move. We'll see. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami Hayashishita taking on Hiroki Goto and Maika, which I think underratedly this could be like one of the most interesting in-ring matches just because Utami and Maika just have incredible chemistry, and I think they both, like, obviously Maika and Goto have a similar place in the card as they do, and same with, of course, Tanahashi and Utami. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. And then quickly, this is not Joshi related or Stardom related, but the fucking Great Muta is on the card. He is teaming with Kazuchika Okada and Toru Yano to take on United Empire, Jeff Cobb, Great Khan, and Aaron Hanare. So then Ospreay defends the US title against Shota Umino. So holy motherfuck shit. That's like a crazy weekend for Stardom and New Japan. One of the biggest weekends I'd probably say in Stardom history for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So to close it out, we're going to do what we do every week, Jamie Kuhn, and we're going to talk about our motherfucking, if I can find it, hang on, be patient, everybody. Hang on it. Our Beast of the Week. Beast of the Week. It's time to bring it up.
Beast.
Jamie, who was your Beast of the Week? It was kind of a quiet week. That's why we did something a little bit different this week. So who do you got?
So like I said, it's been a quiet week. I mentioned this in the group chat earlier. I wasn't sure who my Beast of the Week is. I'm still unsure. I'm going to decide it on the fly. So some of the better matches I saw this week, obviously there was the Bryan Danielson, Sammy Guevara match. I believe that was our match of the week this week. I was slightly lower on that than some. I think it got 4.25. I think I gave it 4. I preferred Bandido versus Roosh. So I was contemplating giving Bandido Beast of the Week. I'm enjoying him in AEW so far. And then another joke, slightly more jokingly nomination. I was going to give Bobby Fish for his boxing victory.
That's actually pretty good. He did kind of beast this week. You know, listen, super unlikable guy. I don't know. He's like very sort of standoffish and does things that are really annoying. But hey, if you're gonna enter a fight and win, and especially with how much CM Punk criticism he has, how can you not deny that it's beast, right? And I'm a huge CM Punk fan.
You know, he went in there. He's had a lot of stick for the way he left the
Mm-hmm.
company. You know, tried to bring, you know, the undisputed elite with him to no avail. But he went out there.
He failed.
Yeah, he criticised CM Punk for not being a real fighter, and then he went out there and won his
And he
boxing.
was like, "Fuck you! I am a real fighter." Yeah.
You know what? It's been a quiet week. Bobby Fish, you are my beast of the week.
Okay,
I'm locking it.
I like it. It was a quiet week. I watched literally one show from the last week, and it was not in any company that we've talked about so far. It was the start of the All Japan Pro Wrestling Real World Tag League. The better World Tag League, by the way, compared to New Japan. Historically better as well. This is where we got teams like Holy Demon Army and Kobashi and Misawa and fucking Burning and all this shit, right? Okay, this is where we're getting all this. Okay, so Violent Giants, of course. They had their debut show. It was not a great show, in my opinion. It was pretty good. But I do have to say, in addition to their Real World Tag League, they're also putting on their Junior Battle of Glory, their version of the Best of the Super Juniors. It's very small, only 6 wrestlers involved, and it's a complete round robin. But I thought that the Atsuki Aoyagi versus Hikaru Sato match was really good. Those are kind of the 2 top guys in the division right now. I don't know if you're familiar with these guys at all, Jamie, but Hikaru Sato is kind of fitting with the MMA theme. He's like a legit fighter. I think he's a kickboxer, I want to say. But he was awesome in this match. They had a great... So the gimmick with the Junior Battle of Glory this year is that only 10-minute time limit. All right, so they're trying to get these matches done. They're trying to do some epic storytelling. And so they get to like 9 minutes, and Sato slaps on this double wrist lock, this Kimura, and Aoyagi's fighting. He's fighting. He almost gets to the ropes, and then Sato flips it over, yanks it on even tighter, cranks it on, probably like cranks it on, and Aoyagi taps out with like 3 seconds left before the buzzer. I thought that finish was so good. I was so into it. And it's just
I need to watch the match. I've heard good things, but I've not checked it out yet. But
yeah, I mean, everybody watching, you got to watch All Japan. It's seriously, I like it better than Noah. I like it better than pretty much any men's promotion, except I do think New Japan gets to higher heights, but on a show-to-show basis, it's All Japan for me. So for that, I'm going to go with Hikaru Sato as my beast of the week. All right.
So
let's get that up there one more time. All right.
Yes, the graphic.
Excellent. The beast of the week. Okay. So next week.
Oh, sorry. So we got 2 shoe fighters.
Yeah, because we're beasts.
So what we're saying here is that Bobby Fish's next boxing match should be against Hikaru Sato, right?
Hikaru Sato. I bet Hikaru Sato would beat the... Well, actually, Bobby Fish is a lot bigger than Hikaru Sato, so maybe not.
Right.
But Sato's he's legit. But I guess Bobby Fish is legit too after this weekend. So who knows? All right, everybody, this is going to be it for us this week. Next week, please be here. It's going to be an awesome show. We are going to do a draft, start to finish, of Japanese wrestlers. We're going to formulate our own rosters. We're going to implement some restrictions and rules to make it engaging and fun and competitive. We are going to have a lot of fun. Murph is going to be back. He's going to be into this. I'm going to be really competitive against Murph because I feel like I have to be. You know how it is. So he'll be back next week, and we're going to have a great time with it. All right, but in the meantime, thank you all for being here. I had a great time talking about Stardom with you, Jamie, so thank you for doing that.
Me too.
And we will catch you all next time. See you later.